Hi, Elaine.
Beth, are you there?
She's muted.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
there, but she's
I'm
muted.
here,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, Beth, John, I see you there. Elaine
Yes.
and me. Okay, that's it.
Excellent. And for the purposes of Affordable Housing Trust, we have Sarah, we have Chris, we have Muffin. I believe we have Joan. Yeah, there's Joan. Great. Joan and myself and absent are Nancy and Peggy. Okay. So the purpose of the joint meeting is to focus on the joint, the collaboration that the Affordable Housing Trust has had with the Manchester Housing Authority. And more specific, we thought it'd be important to follow up on the meeting, the public meeting that we had on June 29th. If there's any follow-up comments, any observations, any next steps that we should be pursuing, so that perhaps when we meet again a month from now, we could report back or whatever. So I just want to open it up to folks. We didn't have an opportunity to discuss things after the meeting on the 29th.
John, should we be considering having another public forum similar to the one we had the end of June in early September? Or do people feel like we don't need to do another, any more?
Personally, I think an additional one at least would be helpful. I mean, when you think back to that night,
Exactly.
we were joking that it was a Tuesday night band shell night at Masco, and put aside for the moment, it was probably like 105 out. So,
Yeah.
so it was really Hardy Souls who came out there. I don't know whether or not that is what we want to hang our hat on, when if we're to talk to anyone about what's the community process. Oh, we had a meeting on June 29th. So I fully support that. And I think perhaps, and Chris, maybe you can talk a little bit about this. I believe you spoke to someone from the Plains. Should we have a targeted meeting to the Plains or Newport, or should we continue to have a public meeting like we had, but really saturate both neighborhoods, including Loading Place, with notices so that we can ensure there's more representation there from them?
Oh, sorry, Chris. I would think that we should just continually be working with the residents at Newport and the Plains, irrespective of the other public forums that we hold, because I think they're a better audience daytime and a little bit in a smaller venue like their gatherings. What do you think, Chris?
Could I just, before Chris,
Thank you,
Muffin, what
Fred.
I meant is when I said folks at Plains and Newport is in not just the residents, but abutters to that development who could.
Oh, yes, definitely. I just wonder if continuing to, not separate, but having available meetings for the residents in the two development projects that we're working on, along with abutters and residents in those neighborhoods. I think there's probably better luck and an easier way to communicate if they're done not separately, but if the residents of Newport Park and the Plains have an opportunity to meet with people from this group during the day, I think we'd get more input from them that way. And we still need to continue to hold the public forums for the community at large. But yes, most likely the next time kind of target with some targeting marketing, the abutters to these projects or these locations.
I think that's a good idea. The original forum, which I was sick and I didn't get to, but was still a bit in COVID. I think some people were nervous
Right.
about it. The meeting rooms are open now. The one at the Plains, one of the Plains is the biggest, so that probably be either have everybody there or do 2 individual ones, which I'm sure would probably make them happier. But either way, well, and also this transportation issue sometimes for people, and it just don't want anyone to feel as though we're always choosing one group over the other.
Yeah.
But and as you say, during the day is better for all of them, I think. But I'm not sure that's true for abutters.
No, I've been suggesting, that we continue with the public forums like we held on the evening of June 29th for the community at large, but somewhat be targeting and trying to really encourage the abutters of the 2 properties to join us at a forum.
Yeah. It might actually be a good idea to even send them the abutters a notice. You get
Yes.
a abutters list from the assessor's office.
Yeah.
To personally invite them, just show we're trying to reach out.
I absolutely agree. I think that's critical to have as many people, the neighbors supporting this, not just the people that live there. They're the most important, but we need the neighbors to really be on board.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to identify champions in town of people who support this outside of our group and have them advocate for it if we can identify those people to kind of help us support.
Absolutely, Sarah. And I think the first go-to group should be the Citizens for Affordable Housing.
Right. And I talked to Erica Brown, I think the last couple of weeks, and she's kind of the one that's going to be reporting on it for the cricket.
Yeah.
Well, we also have a list of 100 and something people who donated directly to us too.
That's right.
Many of those are not abutters of the neighborhoods that we're talking about, but they certainly are far and wide in the neighborhood, in the town. So I think that, hopefully they'll show up when we need them to show up. And
I agree, Joan. That's a great resource that we have.
yeah,
I think folks will appreciate us reaching out to them, given their interest in the work that we do and pursuing community affordable housing. I think it's a great resource to use.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't think I have much more to add. You all took all the wind out of my sails here. But, I think this is going to be a process, and will be continuous engagement with the residents and the neighborhood.
Maybe it would be a good idea. I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I apologize for interrupting. What I was going to say is that it might be good to kind of get on a schedule and either in the cricket, like just a bullet update. Here's where we are. Here's what's happened since 2 months ago when we last reported. So that, because people are constantly asking me, a lot of people are really interested, but we need them to know that there's progress being made, even if it's minute progress, even though there might not be a big change, but if there's anything to report, we should get it out there.
I also think that it would help because, if you follow anything on the Manchester Facebook page, there's no communication. There's no communication between any boards. If you have those bullets of the meetings and all that kind of stuff in the cricket, then nobody can complain. If they don't go to the meetings, you can't force the information down their throat without them being there.
I think it's another great point, using the cricket. Erica has been quite receptive. Most recently, if you guys saw the last week, I reached out to her. I didn't even have to write it. I just said, eviction protections are starting to evaporate in the Commonwealth. Is there any way that you could just do a little plug? And she hung up. I said, yeah, just give me a couple thoughts. Give me a couple ideas. I totally spaced it out. I opened up the cricket this past week, and right there in the front left on the front page, she had done an article already. So we do have a very supportive voice for us.
So I got two more things to say about this. One of them is it's kind of hard to engage the neighborhood when we don't really have a firm plan that people can react to. It's kind of amorphous right now, and it has to be amorphous because we don't really know, what the constraints are going to be and what the developer is going to want to do. And the other thing, I wonder if we can reach out to neighbors and ask them what their concerns are, so we know right up front, is it lighting? Is it traffic? What are the issues going to be? What are the things that we can start folding into our planning process that will at least address their concerns? Maybe we can't take care of all of them, but at least we can make an effort to incorporate their ideas at this stage as well.
Good point.
Is that something we could accomplish through the next public forum, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And maybe we send out a survey to the people who live in those neighborhoods. And
Yeah,
ask them.
Chris, I was thinking the same thing. Someone mentioned that we can get the assessor. If we could, Sue, I don't know, Sue Brown, if we have the ability to do like a little map and find out what are the addresses, I don't know, let's say within 500 feet of those sites, and could we get their addresses? Could we send out a summary letter just introducing ourselves? You've probably heard about us, it's the cricket, et cetera, public meeting. We just want to indicate a couple things, but then also perhaps we can have we could indicate a link in that letter, which could invite people to go to a survey or something like that to help us.
Yeah, I can do that. I can
John,
select,
with the
whatever.
ZBA, they have pre-formatted abutter lists that are abutters and abutters of abutters within 300 feet.
Yeah.
We might want to just use that.
We could use that. Sue, is
Yeah.
that something that you could work, like tie into? I don't know who, Sarah, who would be the person at ZBA?
The assessor, it's the assessor's office that produces those lists. They're
Yeah,
abutter
Ginny.
lists.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I can do that, and I can take whatever geographical area I want. A lot of times I'd probably want to go further than the 300 feet, maybe the entire roadway or something.
Yeah.
But I could do that. I like the idea of putting a link in the letter to a survey if we want to do that.
Yeah. So why
yes.
don't you,
Okay.
if you
Oh,
can
I was
do
gonna-
Newport, do the Plains, and then do Loading Place.
What about Pleasant?
What-
Street?
Yep, right. What about Pleasant Street?
Pleasant is what, yeah.
That's where our pushback's coming.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
But Pleasant, yeah.
So,
So-
wait, I was just gonna say that we've done this and the Board of Action has done this. Peggy would be a great resource for it too, because finally someone has actually moved into our project and it's done after 5 years. But Peggy did a great job of doing exactly this type of outreach to the neighbors, proactive, having them in several times, addressing issues and making them all aware of exactly what was going on, and it made a huge difference.
Right.
John, I
John?
see a hand raised.
I'll recognize a hand. Sandy, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I want to make sure that all you on the different committees have spoken before you get the public speaking. So it looked like someone it might have been Elaine or someone looked like she might be starting to speak, but just wanted to make sure.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I attended the meeting on that very hot day, and I just wanted to give you just some general feedback. Someone came in late because they couldn't get into the Zoom meeting, and I know that sometimes some people are technically challenged, but I know that night had some technical challenges. I know 2 people who left in the middle at least because they couldn't hear in the room. And it was also on a night where it was a concert in town. So I noticed there were a lot of people from some of the other committees in town and not a lot of the general population. There were a lot of officials in the, and a few interested parties. So it would be good to think about either when you hold it and maybe a series. And especially if you get into the neighborhoods, maybe if you do one during the day, late in the day, you can have something later in the day for some of the people in the neighborhood that may be working or something. Just, it could be you're offering a selection of times, knowing that not every official might make it, but I think then you'll make sure that you cover more of the population. So that's just
a great idea.
Just a
variety
little
of time.
feedback.
Yeah.
I have one other comment as an overall sort of arm's length of butter is coming up with some options and being open to options, I think will be very important for the neighborhood. I know it's amorphous, but sometimes when you're speaking to people, it sounds, and I'm not saying on these committees, but on some other committees, that it's sort of black and white, like it's all or nothing type of thing. We have to do it this way. And I think just knowing that, you're open to deflate some of the height on the buildings or size of the buildings or something like that. Density seems to be, there's like this magic number, but if you start aiming for those high numbers, you're going to get pushback. So really thinking, even going back to the table and looking at some other options to sort of throw out there, saying, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I think that, sort of smart and slower growth is going to be a little bit easier to peg than sort of the big growth. So that's just my feedback. Thank you.
Appreciated. Just a couple thoughts come to mind in response to what you said. I'm a big options person, especially up front, and especially when we're committing to do outreach and we want to have people believe us when we say we're interested in your input. I don't want to just go out and listen to people and then and know that I have a closed mind. So I think this is perfectly the time to hear about height and density. I think the constraint that we have, Sandy, and I think others are aware of this, is the particular site and the requirements for new construction. It requires 1-for-1 match. So, for example, at the Plains, it's currently got 48 units. We would have to match that.
Can I ask you why?
It's Bev would have a better, she's our consultant, and perhaps Chris, you can step in as well. It's through our conversations with the Department of Housing and Community Development. They got a couple wings. They got one, it's like the Public Housing Authority side, and that's what's applicable here. And then you have a side that deals with just like new construction and funding. But 2 requirements. One, we have to ultimately subdivide the parcels to create a new development site and a new developer entity independent from the housing authority. And then the second is we have to have a 1-to-1 match. So that's a constraint that I think we've been open to, we've been sharing with folks. I know, so Chris, I don't know if you had any other thoughts on that or.
Yeah, actually where that 1-to-1 match came from was the original demonstration grant program that DHCD offered a couple of years ago. They haven't offered any changes to it, so that's why we're going with it. But there's also another reason why there has to be at least a large number of additional units, and that is to support the economic viability of the overall project. We don't have enough units, we're not going to be able to generate the revenue to support these properties.
Well, as someone in the neighborhood, if we know that that's going to be a line in the sand, then up front, I think that people going in there knowing that you might be open to options, but they're sort of closed at a certain line. I think people
Well-
need to understand that.
Well,
Because that,
Sandy, it sounds like you're drawing the line in the sand. We don't, all we're telling you is what the state is requiring. That
right,
might
right.
change.
I'm
It
not
could
saying,
change.
I'm not trying to be argumentative with you, just understanding the facts, but understanding that there's going to be no other options other than if you have to be 2 times or more. And is that in total, or is that at each site? Just understanding the facts and laying it out before people come to the meeting, then at least there's an understanding, I guess. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Okay,
I think that's helpful and it will help people prepare. But I think that if there's expectations that there's a discussion that might, have a development that's smaller, and that's sort of a no-go because of your constraints or the constraints that are the state constraints, or, just understanding how that all works up front and having all those facts. The other thing is the way that things are laid out and what was presented was a start, but it was very vague. And I know that this is a beginning stage, but it sounds like there are certain things that need to be set in stone, and then other things might be flexible. Just sort of laying that all out will be helpful.
Those are good points. Any other comments on the meeting? What are folks' thoughts about how questions regarding Pleasant Street and our current situation with that? Certainly with respect to putting out the RFP and perhaps also getting town support in some way at the fall meeting.
Yeah, the fall meeting's not going to be until November 15th.
That's right. Yeah. I've been thinking to myself, a lot of times, when you're walking around, mind wanders. I just keep saying to myself, all right, I am going to start writing the warrant. So why don't I commit to doing that? And I could forward it to everyone here so we can start working on language sooner rather than later, so we can circulate it. We're comfortable with it. And perhaps we can use that as an organizing rally to get support for the November.
are you talking about a citizen's petition or?
Well, it would, yeah, well, I guess it's the warrant. And I'm referring to when we had the town meeting about a month ago, and the citizens group, I believe it was a citizens group, had 2 items on as warrants.
Yeah.
I think we should have one of those.
Sue, is
But
that,
maybe we want the Board of Selectmen to support the warrant.
right, that's what I'm wondering, Sue, would the Board of Selectmen sponsor that article, that non-binding article, or would the Affordable Housing Trust do that?
I think it could be either way. I think it would be strong coming from the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
I also think we had spoken about going to the planning board, and I think their support for that would be also good.
Chris.
I
So,
think usually town boards put articles in, they're not the same as a citizen's petition. Like
Right.
where you have to get the signatures and that kind of thing. I think the boards generally are allowed to sponsor an article, aren't they?
yeah, I
Yes, they
think,
don't. Yes, they don't have to have
Right.
a certain number of.
Signatures.
Right.
but I wonder, the question for Alan would be, is the trust able to sponsor an article? where
about
we're
How about
trust.
the Selectmen, there's a joint sponsorship of the Selectmen, the Affordable Housing Trust, the Planning Board, and the Housing Authority. Wouldn't that be the,
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen has to approve the warrant.
Right.
Well,
So if it comes from a committee, they have to approve it to be on the warrant.
well,
Well,
yeah,
unless it's sponsored by a citizen.
right.
Right. But I
So
think
I-
we'd rather have it come from the board.
Well, I think we should find out from Alan. So if the trust can sponsor an article by law, if the trust could be the sponsor, depending on what he says, then we take the next step with the Board of Selectmen. I mean, if the trust can sponsor it, then we'd be looking for the Board of Selectmen's recommendation. But I wonder, because it is town-owned land, and even though it's non-binding, I wonder if the Board of Selectmen is the board that's going to have to sponsor the article. But we would start with Alan.
So just, and we need to remember that any change, potential change in ownership,
Yep.
even if it's a lease, has to go, have a recommendation or report from the planning board as well. So
Yes.
circling them in and
Yeah.
having them as involved as much as possible is a good strategy.
Yeah. So if we used town meeting on, what did Sarah say, November 15th?
Yeah, it's sometime.
If we
Yes.
use that date, John, then we work backwards to build in the dates for our public forums, because we want to have them in succession to lead up to town meeting in November, with the idea that someone will have an article on the warrant regarding the property at Pleasant Street. Because eventually that property and the change in use, Sue, correct me if I'm wrong, has to be voted by the town anyway.
Yes.
Right. So I don't think that,
I think the town has to vote to transfer the
yes,
property.
yes, yeah,
But I
right. That's
don't
what I mean,
think
the change in
The
use.
town does change of use.
Well, I guess that's what I meant, Sarah,
Okay,
is
yeah.
the transfer of property. So,
Transfer to the
And would
Affordable
that be-
Housing
would that be
Trust.
part of
Right.
that? Would that be part of the, part of the, like the non-binding item?
well, no, because non-binding means it's taking the temperature of the voters and the, people that are at town meeting as to, do they see this as something that makes sense and to allow the Affordable Housing Trust to move forward? But if it's non-binding, it's not authorizing the Board of Selectmen to transfer ownership of the property to the Housing Trust.
so,
I think,
so would this mean that after we get, if, God forbid, we get a positive vote at a town meeting, does that mean we can then put out the the Housing Authority can put out the RFP for a developer?
Yeah,
knowing
I
that
was
they
thinking
kind
that
of-
same thing, because I think we were talking about a fall RFP, but given what we just talked about, the town vote on November on an item, and as Muffin rightly suggests, backing into some important community dates.
right, well, and
In the fall
hadn't we-
RFP might not be feasible, and perhaps after the November.
Well, and I thought somewhere along the way we'd had some conversations about needing to feel like the town was supportive of the project and of the properties that were involved, in order to kind of be able to put a little more teeth into the RFP, so that a developer is interested in starting to talk with us. I don't know much about the development aspects of this kind of a project, but I would think a developer's not willing to put a big toe in and start asking us too many questions if there isn't a fairly strong sense of community and board support for the project. Am I off base, Sue?
Oh, I agree with you, Muffin.
Yeah, I think you're
Developers aren't
exactly
gonna
right.
come in.
Right.
if they don't have the cash flow piece, right, Sue?
Yeah, and if they're not confident of a path forward,
Right.
it's just a gamble for them to put really any time and effort into it. So we need to be fairly confident, pretty confident
Yeah.
that it would be something that would move forward.
So
It's a bit-
under
it's
the
a-
scenario, yeah, under the scenario we're discussing, we could evidence a series of meetings, and then we could refer to the favorable town meeting in November in the request for proposal to allay any questions, concerns that a possible applicant might have.
Well, I think we'd have to disclose to the developers a non-binding.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
just an
Definitely,
indication.
but Yeah,
But it's a chicken and egg. We can't really present a real plan until we have a developer. We can't get a developer on board
Yeah.
until the town is being supportive. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's probably the right way to go.
and I think we have to be clear going forward that while we're committing to meetings with the residents and abutters, et cetera, we have to continue to say this is just a proof of concept development study. And
Right.
this is what we have right now. And our goal is to reach out to folks, get people involved so that when we put out an RFP and we have a responsible developer who will move things along, that's where we really start honing in on the plan elements.
Yeah. It also means engaging with DHCD pretty soon too.
Right. Yeah. We need to be very busy in September, October, and November. Well, because if you think about it, if there was a favorable show of support at a November 15th town meeting, then I would think shortly after the first of the year, we'd want to be hitting the blocks with a RFP.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. To potentially have something more to discuss at an April town meeting.
Yes.
John or Chris, do you think that we have anything new to take to DHCD? Because they've basically seen the report. That's what,
But
That
have we
went
had
over with
any
them.
discussions regarding what type of money they might be willing to come up with?
DHCD hasn't really committed to come up with any types of money at
But
this point.
have we asked them for anything?
They've been pretty clear that they don't have it, but I think it's,
I think we can still keep asking.
Right.
keep asking.
If we
We can-
take it
we
off
can
their
really-
rolls, the state rolls, there's got to be some value to that, of that to them.
Well, they're not putting any money up to run the properties now, so. they've
No,
got
but
zero
capital.
incentive.
Capital items,
They do, yes.
Yeah, capital items that they don't fund very well.
but they're funding something. And it could get worse as time goes on, as the buildings degrade, so
No,
that
that's true,
there's,
that's true.
there's a value to taking it off the public rolls and having somebody else do the capital costs.
There's no doubt there's value to DHCD. It's getting them to commit or
Admit what the
knowing
value
they
is.
have knowing they have a pot of money, because, their hands are somewhat tied, but it's definitely worth continuing trying to get them to contribute. I agree. But I don't know if we have anything new to share with them yet, until maybe we have some more clarity on DPW. I'm asking John or Chris or anyone if you think we do have more to engage with them at this point.
I would ask Bev, because she has been the main contact person and she knows where we are with our material.
Yeah, I agree. Let's rattle Bev's cage and see what she can do.
Yeah,
She has a little more scope.
Gretchen, John, Beth, Elaine, tell me this. I know summer is typically a very bad time to meet. I would hesitate having a community meeting. Is there a unique nature of the residents in the housing authority units that we could have a daytime meeting in August?
You're muted.
Gretchen, you're muted.
Yeah. I would say so. The community room is air conditioned. I think that wouldn't bother them at all. I think they'd be happy to meet then.
I think it's easier for them to meet in their own place as well.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
no, definitely. I mean, I'd be up for pursuing that. I just hate the idea of like having a month go by and then we just really have September,
Yeah.
and October.
Mm.
And if folks are not, if they're around, let's meet them in where they are.
Yeah.
Is there a place in Newport Park where we can meet also?
There's a
Mhm.
community room there. We've met there once.
There's a community room at the Plains and one at Newport Park. Nothing on Forest Lane, I don't think, but I think that you could get them to come to a meeting, definitely. I think that's probably a good idea.
Okay, so we can work offline about what would be
Okay.
appropriate. Maybe we could have a series of, rapid fire, maybe.
You might
Yeah,
want to
it's not gonna
check
be
with,
like They're not gonna be like these 3-hour meetings. It's just like a check-in and,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know whether do they still do Meals on Wheels out of there? So you might want to just check on that, what kind of time,
okay,
what days they do it.
yep.
Gretchen, do you know?
What, Meals on Wheels?
Yeah, do they still do that out of the,
Out of the Plains, yes, but that's in the morning. I mean, they're
Oh.
done by 1 o'clock or so,
oh, okay.
because it's lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Gretchen, should we just check in with you or is there someone else we should check in?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll do-
About, yeah, for dates, you mean, or,
yeah, like it would be a 1-hour meeting.
yeah,
It could be something what's similar to what we did at the Kroll Chapel back in April.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was a helpful meeting. We had a pretty good turnout as well. I think we'll probably get even better turnout if we're asking people to just walk outside and going across the way to an air-conditioned room.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and so as you know, we're without a director right now.
Yes.
We are meeting tomorrow to go over some resumes and hopefully start interviewing maybe next week. And we're really hopeful maybe get someone in there by beginning of September. But so right now, if you need anything, there's someone in the office, but any
Nice.
questions will probably have to come right to me.
Would you invite neighbors to that too?
Go ahead, Joan.
Would you invite neighbors to a meeting like that too? I mean, I know it might not be a convenient time for people who are working, but there might be retired people, there might be people working from home that could drop in.
Maybe people available during the day.
I would be careful just because of COVID still.
Yeah,
Oh,
crowd
yeah, I
to
mean,
be-
they're open, but there are protocols still, I would say. I think that there might be a limit to how many people can be in the room at once.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and now they're really
That's
making.
true.
a statement.
Well, I know by the time you're meeting, who knows what they're gonna be saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if the neighbors actually, you ever sort of had a tour of the property?
that'd be really important.
Yeah. To be
Certainly, I think
truthful,
Certainly, I think it'd be very
Kinda-
helpful. I think it'd
Kinda
be
like a
very
site
helpful.
visit.
Yeah, site
Go
visit.
ahead.
Yeah,
I don't think you can go into people's apartments,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
No, but just walk around the grounds and take a look in the corridors and whatever in the community room.
Yeah,
Just-
I think I think people are familiar with the outside of it because most of the neighbors there walk in and walk dogs and stuff like that in those places, but,
yeah, but they may not realize, Gretchen, how much property is out,
Right. right,
behind the buildings. And
Yeah.
I think it'd be at some point in all of this, that would be an important part
I
of
agree.
all the properties.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe a Saturday
Yeah.
morning or something, just to walk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at separate time, I would think, not at a meeting time.
No,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Right, and just to kind of show them where the contemplation is for the new buildings.
Yeah,
So they just have a sense.
Just taking notes, that's a really great idea. Is there any other comments, reflections on the meeting we had late June before we move on?
I just, I have to agree with Sandy. I found it very difficult to understand a lot of the, especially Bev. I could, I don't know, I couldn't understand anything. And
Couldn't hear it.
Susan was sitting next to me and she looked at me, she said, "Can you hear anything?" I'm going, "No." It was hard.
Yeah.
So I think it would be important to have, more meetings so that people can really get a better idea of what would
Yeah.
do. What
In
is going on.
person,
Yeah, in person.
yeah.
If Bev could come, it would
Mhm.
make a big difference instead of doing it remotely, but
The town is also working on getting equipment that can use the 1623 studios and Zoom combined. And I think that's on schedule for towards the end of August. So I think it will be a better technology platform than what we had at the school.
Yeah, he's
We're
really
hoping.
good too. The boy, the gentleman that runs that's really good.
I still think in dealing with the elderly, in person is better. I don't think Bev necessarily has to be at those meetings because I don't think they're so interested in the real technical parts of it. But, you're dealing with people with hearing problems with, I just think looking at something on Zoom and it echoes no matter what the platform is. It's a little echoey in a big room. I think if we could do in person, and as you said, it doesn't have to be a long meeting. It doesn't have to have all kinds of technical details, but just a little update.
So, okay, let me summarize what we've reviewed. That we'll emphasize reconvening with the major populations, and we'll emphasize during the day. We'll use the Cricut as much as possible to provide plan updates periodically. The thinking being no information is not good when we do have information to share. 3, Sue, you're going to just check into the assessing the addresses so that we could prepare a mail drop to the 4 properties where we summarize where we are, and probably equally important, we could include a link to a survey. And then I have also, Sue, if you can just reach out to Alan to get a sense of, can the Affordable Housing Trust sponsor an article and the details related to that and the nuances between, like, could the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, the Housing Authority, and Affordable Housing Trust be a joint sponsor, stuff like that. And then I'll just offline reach out to Gretchen, and if we can have a couple of us try to figure out what would be a good time where we can do like a pop-up meeting at the Plains or at Newport. And I do like the idea of having like a Saturday walk around, very informal. I know,
Yeah.
Sarah, it's really close to your heart as a ZBA member.
I mean, you could actually do them all in one Saturday morning, just spend 45 minutes in each place.
Yep.
Go from one to the other, would be easy.
Any other points on that?
I'll start working on some kind of a survey. I'll see what we can find of what other people have done.
Thank you, Chris. All right, well, why don't we conclude this portion of the Affordable Housing Trust agenda? And Muffin, I'm gonna start Muffin. Gretchen, we love you guys. We welcome you to continue with us as we go through our agenda, but I leave it up to you if you want to call your meeting to close.
I believe I will do that. And if anybody, after I call it, if anybody wants to stay, feel free. So I'm going to entertain a motion to.
I'll move to adjourn.
Wow, not so fast.
Yeah. Elaine, it looks like you're seconding.
Yes, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Great work,
Thank
guys.
you, guys. Thanks for all the work.
Everybody.
All right, guys, see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey, Sue,
Yes.
I'm just doing a little thinking here. Is DHCD under the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development? Is that where they land?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm thinking about something and I
Got it
thought
in?
that was the Secretariat that it belonged under. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so going back to the agenda, administrative, we have approval of the minutes from our last meeting such as this, and then we had our special community meeting on the 29th. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Sure, I'll move they both be approved.
And I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. That's great. Technical assistance hours and tasks. I know Sue, you had sent something out. I don't have it drawn up.
Um,
Can
Sue's-
you please?
It
Sorry.
was an average of 2.7 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
that's
the last 5 weeks, most of them within the time where we're getting ready for the workshop. So
Yes.
just taking care of that and coordinating and whatnot. Otherwise, fairly quiet.
Excellent. Okay. Why don't we go to the treasurer's report?
My dog has been barking the whole time we've been on this Zoom call, and if he starts to bark, please forgive me on that. So I just can update you that the balance, do you want the balance as of the end of June is $602,696.21. The only thing that's come out of that since is a check that we sent to KP Law for the legal advice and services that we received while we were collecting money for the North Shore CDC. And that was $1,216. And other
Joan,
than-
that will come out of the 602, 696?
yes, yes.
Great. All right.
And other than that, I think we also paid Sue, right, in this period for her, we paid the town back.
You have not yet. They're waiting for an affirmative vote on that,
Oh.
I believe.
Yeah.
So
You know,
that should be,
I saw your invoice really quickly when
Yes.
right before I got on this, and my brain was a sieve, so.
yes, that's okay. Yeah, so the invoice, you'll need to vote to allow that to be paid.
So we need to vote on that tonight. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So can I make a motion to do that? That we
Sure.
pay
I'm
Sue?
sorry, Joan, can you just summarize that? I lost the screen for a moment, and in my effort to try to find the screen, I didn't hear what you said.
So one of the documents that Sue attached to her thing was the invoice for her services for the past fiscal year, I believe, right?
Yep.
And that I do not have in front of me, so somebody else has to give me the amount. It's $6,000 something.
Yeah,
I've got it.
6786.25.
Thank you. So maybe Sarah, can you make that motion that we pay?
Yep, I move that we approve the invoice for Sue Brown Services in the amount of $6,786.25 and remit the money to the town.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So I'll take care of that before the end of the week, Sue. Okay.
Great. I will send a note to Andrea regarding the vote
Perfect.
in the terms of.
And I don't have anything else.
Nice.
I'm going to mute myself again, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So then we have the update on the emergency rental and mortgage assistance program. I opened the document earlier today, but I can't seem to call it up right now. I know it's, what was like 108,000. Does someone have it open? Or Sue, do you have it?
I have it open. It was committed 109,813. The average of 5780 per client. 19 clients received payment or pending, 5 clients ineligible, 6 did not follow up. And the payments have ranged from 314 to the full 10,000. And they pay 50% of their net income toward the rental mortgage. Grant funds cover the difference.
So in the email that Peggy sent with this, she did say she was a little concerned because, as you know, the protections for renters are expiring. And she just wanted to kind of monitor to see what was happening. She didn't have a clear indication of if they'd need more. And she was going to do her best to use the funds and have everything done by the end of our term date. But she just did want to just kind of put us on notice, or just kind of share that she did have some concerns, but there was no particular ask at this time.
Can we go above the 10,000 per person?
You can vote to do anything you'd like.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious, a couple things, Sarah. One is, didn't we released, what was it, 100 initially and then 50?
Yes.
So that was, okay, so that's the first thing. So
So she's got 41,000 left.
about 40 left. Yeah, 41,000 left. And then second is, I'd be curious to hear from her if she feels as though the 10,000 max has been an issue.
Right.
And I think she said that it hadn't been yet. So as I said,
Yeah, I always get nervous when somebody has received the max that maybe they needed more.
Yeah.
right.
Well, we can wait till Peggy gets back and we can discuss it at the next meeting. And if there's an emergency comes up, we can have a special meeting.
Right.
Right. You're on mute, Joan.
Sorry.
Is that okay for folks?
Should we notify Peggy that if there is an emergency and somebody needs to go over 10, that they let us know? So we could meet to vote on that if we need to do that?
I'm happy to let her know that.
I mean, if the feeling of all of you is that we still want to be helpful to people that need more than that. And I would say yes.
Yeah.
Things are so uncertain for so many people that, I mean, we can't go on forever paying for them, but things are still happening.
So I just pulled up Peggy's last email to me. And I misspoke because she said, so here's what it says. It says, I checked in with my staff. They noted they thought it would be helpful to have an extension, not in the amount, but in time, since we do not believe the funds will be spent by the September deadline. Evictions are not picking up as much as we might have expected because the moratorium was extended. But now we know that's might be changing. We anticipate that we could spend the funds down a bit more quickly if the usage were broadened to clients who have rental or mortgage assistance needs that are not directly connected to COVID, although an extension would be helpful even if this change is made. Generally speaking, we are seeing more clients reaching out now for assistance with housing costs in the form of utility assistance and security deposits. So maybe at our meeting, we could consider allowing non-COVID specific cases to be eligible. So
I would also.
In order to draw down
What's that?
balance.
you broke up a little.
I
Milton.
said, we could do that in order to draw down the balance that they have right now. To be non-COVID related.
I also would suggest a motion to approve extending the time period from September to November 1, given the eviction protections are pretty much very unstable right now, with some actually being removed, and it might be timely to extend it to November to capture anyone who might be in that case.
I guess I would like more definitive information. Everything we've received is just very general. And I think the question is the people we're helping, do they need to extend it?
I'm also thinking, in addition to that, Sarah, folks who might not have considered us and this now, given the circumstances, would consider us.
Right, I just would like more information at an August meeting before we extend it. That's what I'm saying. That's
Well,
my,
that'll give us time, so.
yeah,
Okay,
So let's ask Peggy to make sure she's at the August meeting.
because we just have very generic information. We don't have any information regarding whether we're meeting the needs of the people who are applying and how we can change that.
I wonder if she could give us a couple of case examples, of specific people.
Right. I mean, having to spend 50% of your income on rent is a lot.
That is.
Yeah.
okay, so why don't we, Sue, I heard you say that you're willing to contact Peggy at a minimum to tell her if there's an emergency, we are available to have a vote. It could be online. But then I think also while you have her attention through an email, if you could say that, could we prepare for an August quote unquote presentation where we get at more information such as need, what's the dollar amount that she feels is appropriate? What's the time period? Extend beyond rental, mortgage assistance to utilities and stuff like that. All set?
Sure. Yes, sure.
That sounds great. All right, so then we have now the fiscal year 2022 Town and Affordable Housing Trust MOU for technical assistance, which was circulated in the email here. And I have been able, I can draw this one up. Are there any comments to that, or do we have a motion to approve that with it, that meaning I could sign on behalf of the trust?
I move to approve.
I'll make,
Go ahead, Muffin.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU between the Affordable Housing Trust in the town of Manchester by the Sea and for Chairman John Feuerbach to sign on the trust's behalf.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. So Sue, do you want to just print it out and put it in the mailbox at town hall, or what do you think would be easiest?
Sure, I can do that.
I mean, you're going to need to get an inked copy from me, so I can maybe just print out the back page and put it in the mailbox. Well, it doesn't.
Actually, there's no, you can, if you can print it out and sign it and drop it off at town hall, then they would sign it. I'm not a signator on it. I don't, well, wait a minute. No, I don't think I'm a signator.
You wouldn't be.
So.
All right, I'll print and sign.
Print and sign and drop it off in the Board of Selectmen's office with Sonia.
Okay.
And I will let her know it's coming and direct her to give it to Andrea, a money gal, when she's done.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Great.
All right, let me get rid of that then. Any other planning efforts worth discussing here?
I think our plates are pretty full.
Other matters that may not have been reasonably anticipated at the issuance of this agenda?
I would ask if you think of, no, we now have, so the planning board does have, basically 2 new members with Sarah Creighton and Laura Tenney. Was approved by the planning board and Board of Selectmen last night. So they are 2 members that, haven't been super involved or have a deep knowledge of this particular project. So I do think now might be a good time to at least figure out when the board, this trust can get on that agenda, just to discuss it as a land use item.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Would it make sense for their first meeting in September, if that's when we're also going to try to schedule public forums and the surveys and letters to abutters and all of that?
Yeah, in fact, the next meeting of the planning board, Laura Tenney won't be
That's
there,
right.
so let's wait till September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about we take your lead, Chris, as a representative? Could you do a little digging and report and give us? a
Sure.
heads up?
I can do that.
We could take our show on the road.
I'll check
Great.
with the chairman and see if we can get that set up.
And I'm happy to produce, if it's helpful to have a PowerPoint at all, I'm happy to help with that production.
Will all of this be handled by planning board, or is something going to have to go before the ZBA?
We won't
It's
know
not
that
clear to-
until we get, yeah,
Right.
we won't know that until we get a proposal. This is
Okay.
just kind of keeping all our boards and committees informed. They don't have to take an action yet because there's no proposal. It's just keeping them updated on the planning process. Building support and understanding.
As it stands now, we'd probably have to either get a variance or a 40B, friendly 40B to get this done.
But I think Bev said not a 40B.
Well, it could be,
Okay.
but under recodification, there's a proposed senior housing element or article in the recodification that would allow senior housing by special permit. So,
So that would work for the Plains and Newport Park, but not the others. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it depends on when it happens and what has been, if anything has changed in our zoning and
Well, I'll just kind of alert the board to what's going on.
Okay. Before we look at a date for next meeting, is there anything to discuss or anything on the SLV in terms of status? My understanding is that it's just still at Mass Housing, right?
So Mass Housing gave the town until June 24th to get their information in. So that's just been 3 days. I would expect we would hear something within probably by next week from that. I do know.
June
that there
24th
were-
was almost a month ago.
Oh, that's right. Did I
Yeah,
say
and-
June 24th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
said
talked
June.
Was
to
it June 24th or July
Yeah.
24th?
June
You said
24th.
June 24th.
It was July
June-
24th, right?
No, it was June 24th.
Good
And
Lord,
I
why haven't we heard by now?
I spoke to Greg the past week or two, and he said he'd heard absolutely nothing.
Right.
Wow.
He
I-
was surprised.
Yeah, I did just see a letter from Representative Hill and Tar's office to MHF. So evidently they're still considering or still accepting
Yeah.
information.
Do you know if by law they have to respond by a certain date? Because otherwise the state is notoriously slow on housing stuff.
I think that they do. I can't remember the
The-
length.
The 40B handbook indicated that they generally respond within 60 days, but there didn't
Right.
appear to be a legal required response time.
Okay, so then I wouldn't hold our breath here.
It's summer.
Well, yeah, based on my experience, DHCD or any quasi-state, they just take a long time arriving at decisions and making announcements. So,
And
okay,
that was before COVID.
yes.
Now with COVID, things are taking even longer.
Looking at calendar, any suggestions for an August meeting? Is that last?
I will not be in town on August 15th or 16th, 17th, 18th.
Well, how about the week of the 23rd, like August 24th?
Peggy and I have action that night, and Gretchen would too if it's a combined meeting.
Okay. 26th? Unless, Muffin, I don't want to tax you and have multiple meetings in a week.
No, the 26th is fine. I just double checked and action was that Tuesday. So the 26th is fine as long as it works for everybody.
Okay for me.
I'm going to put it in right now.
Yeah, I might not be there, but I don't have any definite plans at the moment, so.
Well, Joan, you can zoom in from wherever you are.
From Gilmanton Ironworks, New Hampshire.
Oh,
Oh, Muffin,
I'll come with you.
you can come up with me.
My old stomping grounds.
So funny.
We'll say 6 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds great.
And why don't we just continue the Zoom?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess. Does it make sense at the meeting in August to try to lay out a calendar so that we have a sense of what we're gonna do this fall leading up to town meeting? Because September we're not the only board that'll start hitting the ground running on topics in the fall. Most kind of try to go a little bit quiet and dormant in August, and then all of a sudden it's September and things have to get clicking again. So I wonder if we shouldn't try to put a calendar together.
I think that's a good idea.
To November?
Yeah,
Okay, no, I'm just making a note that there. That's a good
right,
idea.
because Chris, won't there be a lot of recodification forums and,
Yeah, there probably will be.
right. So I just think we need to kind of get our ducks in a row and on a calendar and on a meeting agenda, on a meeting calendar in town hall and,
Can we
With
find out when our warrant article would be due? I don't remember.
no, I mean, I would think it's if town meeting's the 15th of November and I am spitballing because I honestly can't remember. I think we should be aiming for like no later than the 1st of October. But again, that's a question from Alan that Sue can get
Right.
from him, because it may have to go through layers.
It's gotta
of-
be,
of-
yeah, printed and everything, yeah.
Well, for boards to be presented it and, the board, the selectmen, the planning board and whoever else. So
FinCom would have to weigh in on a,
yep. So we just, we want to build ourselves time in early so that we can hopefully avoid the mad scramble.
Yep, good point.
Sue,
I'll put that on the agenda.
when you
Yeah.
find out from Alan, if you can email the group
Right.
I will.
your findings, and then why don't we circulate something prior to the August
26th.
26th meeting,
Right.
a skeleton schedule, so we don't
Yeah.
all arrive at that August meeting and say, okay, what do you think? We
Right. That's a great idea.
could circulate something, and I got a note here. Great, all right.
yeah, I'm gonna be out of the country the last 2 weeks of September, but it doesn't matter if I miss a meeting. I'm going to unvaccinated Tanzania.
Wow.
How's the
US
internet?
just sent their first 1 million doses. Feeling very comfortable.
Bring a care package with you.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, it does sound like quite a trip, Sarah.
Bring a couple thousand or so. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Excellent.
Bye,
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later, everybody.
Thanks.
Great.
Bye.
Good work, all.
Thanks, Joan, for your email response.
Oh, you're welcome. Let me know if you need anybody else.
I might. Thanks.
Bye.